to another edition of Cowboys Rewind as the Cowboys prepare to face the New York Jets. I'm Dani Sureck. All week, the discussion around the star has been the Cowboys defense needing to improve after Packers running back Aaron Jones rushed for 4 touchdowns in the game in Week 4, the first opponent to ever do so against the Cowboys. The Cowboys defensive players have said they need to get back to the fundamentals. They need to improve their tackling and be more sound in defense, especially in closing the gaps. This week will be the perfect chance at redemption facing Jets running back LeSean Bell. Former Cowboys safety Barry Church gave a quick lesson on how to stop Bell in this week's episode of Cover 4.
And another guy who is a really big weapon, probably doesn't get as much attention as he wants because the rest of the team might not be as talented as the others. Barry, take us to church on a matchup we cannot ignore.
Thank you, Lindsay, and welcome to church. For this Week 6 matchup, we'll be discussing the 3 musts to slow down LeSean Bell and his New York Jets offense. Number 1 must is you must wrap up when tackling this guy. He's a very strong, physical, and balanced runner who, if you just go in there with a shoulder or a flipper, he'll bounce right off of you and continue trucking for another 15 to 20 yards. So when you make contact, you must wrap this guy up, wait for your friends to come in and bring him down. And the number 2 must, and probably the most important muster is you have to be gap disciplined. If you're involved in that front 7 or front 8 guys and you have a gap, you have to remain disciplined. This is one of the most patient runners in the NFL. If you're in your gap and you're trying to piggy or peekaboo here, peekaboo there, or become Superman thinking you can make every tackle, the minute you leave your gap, LeSean Bell is going to go right through there for another 20 to 30 yard burst. So you must be gap disciplined. And as we see right there, number 3 is you have to have a plan of attack. I've seen this guy line up in the backfield, tight end, slot, even at number 1 receiver. And if you're a linebacker or a safety that's not used to covering out there on the island, you have to be patient. If you go out there at the line of scrimmage and you're lunging or you're reaching for him, he's going to teach you a lesson and make you look foolish out there. So you have to be patient with this guy at the line of scrimmage. Let him get all his shake and mix out the way. As soon as he declares where he's going, you put your hands on him and shut him down. Now, if you're going against him in the run and you're an edge defender, you have to have a plan and letting him not break contain. As we saw last week with Aaron Jones, if he's able to cross the defender's face, that's bad news for the defense. So if you're an edge defender, if you're a force defender, make sure you cut him off at the line of scrimmage and make him go back inside to the rest of your friends. And if you do that, you will have a success this week. And those are the 3 musts of slowing down LeSean Bell and his New York Jets offense.
Bell has rushed for more than just 200 yards this season. However, this could be a game he really goes off with the return of his starting quarterback, Sam Darnold, who has missed the last month while recovering from mono. The Cowboys defense has said all week they need to treat the 3-time Pro Bowl running back as a threat he is. Up next, a more in-depth discussion on this Cowboys-Jets matchup and everything the Jets team brings to the table.
Cowboys Rewind is brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing. Academy, the official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' film and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.
Awesome. All right, you are all booked and set, ready to go to New York, Mr. Dave. I am showing you have a premium upgrade to a suite upon arrival at your hotel. I'm also showing you have a nice upgrade to a premium seat on your jet ride over to New York. 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 Hotel Dave. Mr. Dave, you.
This is Dave. Dave's not down with Jets. Be like Dave.
Dallas Cowboys head to New York to face the 0-4 New York Jets. Despite their slow start to the season, the Jets still have plenty of playmakers on both sides of the ball. Bill Jones, Nate Newton, and Rick Gosselin break down the Cowboys-Jets matchup on this week's episode of Special Edition.
Cowboys hit the road aiming for their first win over the struggling Jets since 2007. Lost 2 in a row to them. New York, one of 4 winless teams in the NFL with losses to Buffalo, Cleveland, New England, and Philadelphia. After being out for the last 3 games, second-year quarterback Sam Darnold will return to action. Last season, the 2018 third overall pick out of USC threw 17 touchdown passes, picked off 15 times. On the offensive side of the ball, the Jets ranked 31st in points scored per game, whereas the defense is allowing teams to score at least 25 points per contest. As we welcome you back here to Special Edition, it's a 3:25 kickoff Sunday afternoon. Bill Jones, Nate Newton, Rick Goslin. Let's kick around these Jets. They've been kicked around already this season. They do get Sam Darnold back, which should help LeSean Bell, who's averaging just 2.9 yards per rushing attempt this season.
And that's because they have a bad offensive line. But what LeSean can do is he can catch the ball coming out of the backfield. He can line up in the sliding run routes. He's a patient runner. So if our guys don't stay in their gaps, he would exploit that because he's not one of the guys that run up to the line and explode through it. He's the guy that comes and he helps his offensive line set up the blocks. He's got little shaky moves, but once he puts his foot in the ground and go north and south, he's going at a pretty fast clip.
Yeah, he's got that stutter step. He runs to the line, takes a look around, and then goes. Yeah. So if you're not staying in your gap, then you're looking at about a 50-yard run. And I agree. I think that the threat this week is the pass. Mm-hmm. I think this offensive line is one of the worst in football. In the last 3 weeks, they've given up 18 sacks. That's 6 a game. If the Cowboys don't get some sacks this week, there's going to be a problem.
Yep, and you look back at their season opener when they had Sam Darnold. They got out to a 16-0 lead on a good Buffalo Bills team, but since then they've only scored 23 points in the last 3.5 quarters. Much of that, of course, without Darnold in the lineup. Now the Jets on defense, they have invested in their front 7 with some first-round draft picks like Leonard Williams and this year's first-round pick, top of the first-round guy out of Alabama, Quinnen Williams. And they've done a good job, Nate, of stopping the run. How does this Jets defense match up against the Cowboys?
They match up pretty well, and they got a nice nose guard that's going to be a low-fire center. But, we have a good, solid offensive line. If we scheme this thing right, man, and get out on the edges on these guys and stretch them a little bit and stress them, I think we should be all right in the run game. Yes, they're ranked high, but this is a team. If you go out and you step on them early, have some success early, which we haven't done against any team up to this point, but if we go out against this New York Jets team and run early, get some big plays, they'll crumble.
Yeah, I agree. Go out for the first time in 3 weeks and enforce your will. Dictate the tempo of the game. You do that by pounding the football. You've got the back, you've got the line, just go do it.
Tune in every Saturday night at 11 p.m. to watch Special Edition on Channel 11. Up next, we'll hear from head coach Jason Garrett on the resiliency of this team and the art of route running. Welcome back to Cowboys Rewind. In Week 4 against the Packers, the Cowboys put themselves in a difficult position with an early deficit. The Cowboys were down 21 points before getting on the board in the third quarter. However, the Cowboys scored 24 points in the second half. Head coach Jason Garrett says he is proud of his team's fight and that they didn't give up until the very end of the game. Garrett sat down with Bill Jones in this week's episode of The Jason Garrett Show to discuss his team's ability to bounce back.
Jason, I thought from last week's game, after falling behind 31-3 to Green Bay, I was really admiring the fight that this team had in coming back in the fourth quarter of this game. And I know that you feel like you've got the roster, the players on this team, that fight will continue this week against the Jets.
Yeah, no question about it. Obviously, it wasn't the way we wanted to start that game. I actually thought we did some good things offensively early on in the game, both running the ball and throwing the football. We moved the ball down the field, but the turnovers really hurt us. And they did a good job capitalizing on that. When we turned the ball over, they subsequently drove the ball. They ran the ball fairly consistently well against us throughout the game. So that was a little bit disappointing. We've always been a very good run defense, so we have to get better there. But there's no question, even when the game got a little bit out of hand, everybody just hung in there. Defense started to get some stops. Offense was able to convert some of those drives into touchdowns, and we got it close, but it certainly wasn't good enough.
Of course, you're playing a Jets team that's got off to a rocky start, but they get their quarterback back this week. And one of the strengths of this Jets team is their run defense, and they've invested heavily in their front seven on defense. Of course, they don't have C.J. Mosley right now, but 2 first-round draft picks in Leonard Williams and Quinnen Williams up front.
Yeah, they certainly have a lot of talented guys in their front seven, and it's really probably the strength of their team right now. They're not only good pass rushers, but they are good run defenders. Linebackers are very active. They have good cover guys on the back end, so they challenge you a lot of different ways.
When you look at what's going on with your offense, ranked number 1 in the league in total offense, I think one of the things from the first 5 games of the season, what's happened with your pass offense, and now to go along with Zeke in the rushing offense, is you can beat teams both ways, but I know that you want to be as balanced as you can offensively.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's probably when we play our best football, when we're attacking different ways, starting with the run and the pass. Sometimes you get into games where you're going to run it more. Sometimes you get into games where you have to throw it more. Sometimes you throw it more early and you run it late. But I think when you break the huddle and you can attack them with both the running game and the passing game and threaten them, that's when you're playing your best offensive football. I think we've done that at different times this year. Obviously, we're a work in progress, trying to get better and better every week.
We're going to be joined by Amari Cooper later in the show. And what I would like to ask you specifically about Amari is his route running ability. I know it's something that Sanjay Law works with all his receivers with, but it was on display in a big way last week against Green Bay.
Yeah, Amari's a great route runner. And you know, it starts with his athleticism and his athletic ability. He's quick, he's fast, he's explosive. He can threaten the guy who's guarding him down the field vertically. And then his ability to get in and out of breaks, his change of direction is outstanding. So you put all that together, along with just his know-how and his desire to be good at the details of route running, you know, makes him a very dangerous guy. You saw a lot of different routes in that game on Sunday against Green Bay where he got open, and it was the art of route running. And he and Dak are on the same page. They made a lot of big plays for us.
Wide receiver Amari Cooper had a single-game career-high 226 receiving yards against the Packers. Cooper now has 512 receiving yards this season, the second most in the league, only behind Saints wide receiver Michael Thomas. Don't go anywhere. You'll get a chance to see a different side of 2 tight ends from the Cowboys locker room in a fun game show next. Most coverage of the Dallas Cowboys throughout the week is about football. However, it can be fun to see the players' individual personalities as well, which is exactly what No Moss does. Amber Garcia tested tight ends Blake Jarwin and Dalton Schultz's knowledge of their teammates in this week's episode of No Moss.
Hello guys, welcome to another episode of No Moss. I'm your host Amber Garcia, and joining me in studio today we got our 2 tight ends, Blake Jarwin and Dalton Schultz. How are you guys doing?
Great, doing well, thank you.
It sounds like this game is going to be very, very competitive. Who's feeling the most confident here?
I don't think he has a chance, so yeah, you go.
You feel like you've gotten enough time to know your teammates?
Yeah. Question mark?
Question mark? We'll find that out. Okay, the game is really, really simple. We're gonna see on screen a set of multiple choice questions. Just pick the answer that you think fits the person we're talking about. What's the first thing that Zeke does when he gets home from a road trip? A, eats a bowl of cereal. B, plays video games. C, watches game highlights. D, goes straight to bed. Ready? All right. Let's start off with you. He plays video games.
I just have a hunch. I know myself when I get home. Kind of depends on when the game is, but I think that he might be a gamer.
Even in those late night road games when you get home.
Yeah, you never know. I'm going to stick with it here.
I go straight to bed when I have like 10 snaps. And this dude takes like 40. So like, I'm saying he goes straight to bed. I don't think he's got the energy for anything else.
All right, well, let's hear the answer.
The first thing I do when I get home from a road trip is, just go get in bed. I'm just so sore and beat up.
Let's go.
You got it absolutely right. Very sore and beat up. He gets he gets a lot of beating.
Oh, dude.
So you go straight to bed, you play video games, apparently you have the energy to keep going for the night.
Doing something right.
Well, I guess it depends. If it's a 12 o'clock kickoff, you got a shot.
I guess that's right. Good job.
Okay.
Good job.
First point over here. Let's move on to the next question. If Zach Martin could be on a TV show, which one would it be? A, Mad Men. B, The Sopranos. C, Ozark. D, The Wire. This one's a little harder here. Timer's up. Show us your answer. All right. D, The Wire. Why that one?
The only one I've seen is Ozark, and I would not want to be in Ozark. I haven't seen Mad Men or The Sopranos, but I heard The Wire is really good. So
I have not seen The Wire or The Sopranos, but I don't know. Maybe he wants to wear a suit and just be a part of the Mad Men.
Maybe. I'll say this one is really tough, but
Difficult one.
let's hear his answer.
Well, my favorite TV show is The Sopranos. So I think it'd be pretty cool to be part of that show. Get a whole mom for a little bit.
All right, well, no points here. You still hold the
one up,
lead.
baby.
You still one up.
You can see the surprise ending of this episode of No Mas on DallasCowboys.com. Next, we'll hear from one of the newest podcasts from the Dallas Cowboys with some familiar voices for Cowboys fans. Welcome back to Cowboys Rewind. Radioheads is one of the newest podcasts the Dallas Cowboys has to offer. It features Cowboys radio play-by-play announcer Brad Sham, sideline reporter Christy Scales, and former Cowboys fullback Tyler Klutz. In this week's episode, they touched on head coach Jason Garrett's unsportsmanlike conduct penalty in Week 4 against the Packers.
Scott, let me look up his name because I don't want to mess it up, but the side judge was Scott Edwards. He's the one that threw the flag on Jason Garrett. He and Sarah Thomas were working the Cowboys sideline only in the second half. But he is the one who had an exchange with Jason Garrett following the pass interference penalty on Anthony Brown, which was called, and then Jason Garrett challenged it, lost the challenge, so the penalty stood. Just a little bit later, when the Packers were about to score on the Cowboys and they're way down in the Cowboys' red zone, Scott is in the back corner, so the back end line, 10 yards deep in the end zone. Sarah's at about the 4-yard line. Jason Garrett is out of the coach's box at the 30-yard line at about the 25. And before the snap...
Circle this right here, Fred. Circle this.
So Scott Edwards runs from the back line pre-snap all the way up to Jason Garrett to admonish him to move back into the coach's box. He did not throw a penalty flag at that time, but it's like, get back.
So it's really important, and thank you for breaking that down, because it's really important to understand where these officials are located, right? Because that is not where his focus is supposed to be.
Thank you. Why is he? And it was close to the snap. Okay, it wasn't like they're just breaking the huddle. It was pretty close to the snap. I'm sorry, I can't tell you if it was exactly like 8 seconds or 15 seconds left on the clock.
You've been very detailed.
But it was,
Don't apologize, please.
So we've already had that, and that's what was in my mind when a little bit later the exchange happens and Jason Garrett slams down his second challenge flag of the game, and he obviously
and that was
said
on the
something.
Cooper. That was on the
Cooper catch,
right.
which was right in front of Jason Garrett and the Cowboys coaching staff and the players, and they're all signaling catch. And I can understand how the official would miss that call because it was close. But after the game, Ron Torbert, the referee, was made available to a pool reporter. And he clarified that the penalty, unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on Jason Garrett was for verbal abuse of the official. So
did you hear any of that?
I did not, thank goodness. And thank goodness my microphone was not open, Brad, because Radioheads may not be on the air anymore, because I think that some of the words may have violated George Carlin's 7 words you cannot say on the air.
Well,
and we might have lost our FCC license.
We need a break, but I'm just going to say this. I've done a lot of Major League Baseball and college basketball, and you will see, and you rarely see it in the NFL, in my opinion,
but you will see an umpire or a college basketball referee who thinks he's the reason everybody came to the stadium.
Yes.
And that was the feeling I had from this guy. Why are you standing in the end zone worried about the coach? Just stay back there and do your job. Someone closer to him will tell him. And you could just see when you look back at the play on the replay, and you could see Jason's disgusted because he's had to use his last challenge because in his opinion, they have blown another call. Mm-hmm. So he spikes the thing. Well, you could see all the hubris in the guy just well up, and you're not going to show me up.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what, Scott? No one came to see you.
You can listen live to Radiohead's Monday at 3 p.m. That'll do it for Cowboys Rewind this week. The Cowboys and Jets face off Sunday at 3:25 Central Time. Cowboys pregame live will begin at 2 p.m. and you can watch on all Dallas Cowboys platforms. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Dani Sureck.
Cowboys Rewind was brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing. SWBC Mortgage, financial solutions to help you meet your personal and business goals. Visit swbc.com. And by the Dallas Cowboys Football Club. Want to tour AT&T Stadium? For more information, call 817-892-TOUR or visit dallascowboys.com/tours.